Hi everyone, welcome to the Connected Cities virtual conference, part of the Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival. And I'm delighted to be with Ben Wong from Eureka Nova. And Ben, great to see you this morning. How's everything going?
Things are going well. Thanks for having me, Anson.
Great to see you. So Ben, perhaps a lot of people out there don't perhaps know Eureka Nova. Can you perhaps share some background for us?
Yeah, sure. Eureka Nova is an open innovation platform under New World Development. And what we do is that we basically create startup programs that are essentially meeting what the BUs require in terms of technology. We spend a lot of time actually talking internally with our business units, whether it's from property development, construction, to hospitality, elderly care, to understand what their technology needs are. And at New World Development, we have a big technology transformation strategy.
Right.
And so once we identify what they require, we go out there and build programs specifically for that one purpose.
So, am I right in thinking then that you're probably covering the main sectors of business are going to be related to New World Development, or are you doing any cool things in sustainability, for example?
Yeah, for sure. One of the call it recent programs that we launched is called Impact Commons. And this was actually hand-in-hand designed with our sustainability department. And we looked at the sustainability vision in terms of what they want to be able to achieve across the group. And then we created a program based on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as a framework. So we pinpointed 4 UN SDGs, and we went out to recruit startups that could come in and actually pilot a lot of their solutions within the group. One example is that we brought a property tech company to come in to look at energy saving. And we just ran a pilot, and we instantly in a month saw a lot of benefits in terms of our air conditioning savings as well as lighting savings. And the numbers are actually quite substantial.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow. And I think it's also worthwhile to add that Ellie Tang, who's head of sustainability,
That's right.
is also going to be joining us on one of those sustainable development panels.
That's right.
At the Connected Cities virtual conference. So check that out. So I'm curious, how many startups are in your program or have gone through that program?
Yeah, we have probably around 50 plus startups that have gone through multiple programs. Our program started from disruptive technologies, retail technologies. We've even worked together hand in hand with Tencent and Mizuho Bank.
Okay.
And most recently, we're looking at social impact startups.
Right.
So we really try to cater different programs, again, going back to what our business units require. And then we create the theme necessary for them.
Okay, so interestingly, I know you've had a long association with the startup community.
That's right.
So what are the challenges that you see, and how are you helping those startups?
Yeah, I think for startups, they're always looking for access to roll out their solutions.
Right.
They're looking for a sandbox or a specific area where they could actually use their products, pilot, and test the consumer usage of their technology. This doesn't necessarily happen all the time in Hong Kong. So at New World and at Eureka Nova, we try to create that type of platform for them. The way I like to put it is that there are a lot of programs out there that help startups. What makes us different is that we do have the multiple businesses across New World Development, where instead of knocking on the doors individually, we can knock them for you and open them for you. So essentially, we're opening a path for a lot of these startups to essentially strategically align with our business units and roll out their pilots.
Okay, good. Now, we hear a lot about Hong Kong, of course, being a finance hub, being a trading hub. But can Hong Kong become this tech and innovation hub?
Yeah, I think it already is.
Okay.
It really depends how you view it, but I do think that Hong Kong, being strategically located here in the Greater Bay Area, GBA, have a lot of different components that it leverages to become a tech hub, and I think the ceiling is very high. We're just seeing the beginning of it. I think once you see technology startups, taking the infrastructure here in Hong Kong and leveraging the manufacturing and the supply chain over across the border, I think the sky's the limit for a lot of these startups.
Okay, no, that sounds good. And I think an important question that, of course, I'm sure a lot of people are kind of thinking is how can the corporate world support the startup ecosystem?
Yeah. I think it's there's no kind of SOP on how to do it, right? But I'll kind of share what we've done that's worked well for us. We spent a lot of time to understand each business unit within our corporate culture,
Mhm.
what their needs are, what resources they have allocated, and if they have the right personnel within those business units to see the project through. And from our perspective, when we manage these conversations in terms of technology needs, we're persistent. Every week we're checking in to see if there are strategic changes, especially in tested times like these.
Sure.
We're always checking in on the business units if their requirements have changed.
Now, something else I kind of wanted to ask you, because again, you've got the corporate world, you've got the startup
Yeah.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
What is maybe one thing that the corporates can do to, help and support the ecosystem, the startups, but also how about the startups themselves? What's the one thing that they should be thinking about, how they can get closer to the corporates?
For corporates, they really have to be transparent,
Okay,
right? I mean, for sure, tell them about their strategic moves, what they're looking to achieve, and be very clear on what they want the startups to do.
hmm
That really helps, right?
yes,
Now, for a startup, it's a different flavor because startups usually come in with, call it, limited resources at times, depending on
sure,
what stage you're in. But I think it's also to stay um, realistic in what you could achieve, right?
right,
Because you could easily lose a contract or a commercial opportunity with a business unit if you sometimes oversell yourself, right?
yeah,
So I think you have to be realistic on what resources you have to be able to support these pilots. This manages a lot of call it the business unit side's
sure,
expectations because the business unit will have to talk to other business units and report up the line
of
because we all
course.
understand.
That's a great point. So
Yeah,
managing those expectations, don't oversell and underdeliver.
that's right.
I think that is good advice. Great
Yeah,
advice. I love buzzwords.
yeah,
So before we go today, what's your buzzword for everybody
yeah.
watching at the Connected Cities virtual conference?
This has not changed for me, this buzzword, for at least 5 years now. And that specifically for startups is persistence. And then just to kind of expand on it a little bit, I think, again, in these testing times, it's even more important. When you run a startup company, it really is a marathon. There are times when you jog through it, and there are times when you need to sprint.
Yeah.
And in that type of startup environment, that is being flexible and pivoting. So I think being persistent with all of your projects, but also allowing flexibility is super important for startups.
hmm
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Excellent advice. Ben Wong,
Yeah.
Eureka Nova, thank you so much for sharing such great insights with us today.
Thank you for having me, Anson. Thanks.